0.
Hey, everybody. I'm here with a great friend of mine, Martin Hickey. He's going to show some stuff off today that I'm excited to see. Martin, what's going on, buddy?
JJ, thanks very much. And as I say, look, JJ is a great friend of mine as well, great colleague. I just love to be on with him. So we're putting a video together here around what I want to talk about. So everyone, there's a lot of people out there at this stage, especially in Kubernetes community, that knows about Helm.
Yes.
It's
a package manager, right?
Yeah, it's a very useful tool. JJ, what do you think?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just a really nice way of deploying your applications out into your Kubernetes cluster. It allows you to extract your manifests, what we call templates, from your configuration. So it means you can run different instances of it with different configuration, etc., without having to go in and make those changes to the manifest files. Also, it does some lifecycle management around the apps that are there. So it allows you to do rollbacks and uninstall. So you've been using it quite a bit in the last year, haven't you, JJ?
Absolutely. The day one, day two operations of Helm to run some applications for me to just play with. Like I of course, I'm a nerd. I run a Kubernetes cluster at home, of course. Why wouldn't I? And I use Helm.
Not everyone does that, JJ, by the way.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
I use Helm to run some apps on there, and I had to reload some stuff. And when I got my Helm values.yaml, if I'm correct on this, make sure that I get this right, properly set up, and I had to blow away something. I had to rebuild it. Helm just brought the app right back up with all the configuration I wanted to, and it was brilliant. It really truly was.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool tool, and it's really grown in stature and in size and usage. So kind of what I want to do today is, I suppose I've done before you on a Twitch stream where we've gone in under the hood, but today what I want to look at is, so people know a lot of the commands are out there in the CLI, do your Helm list, your Helm installs, your upgrades, but maybe people don't realize that, there's also a Go SDK involved in Helm, and that this is provided for people. So if people, for example, want to extend it, they want to write their own tools, their own application around Helm, that they can do this by calling directly into the SDK. So what I want to do is, I want to take an example today. We'll take a simple example like Helm list, and we'll see what can we do with Helm list. How can we call it directly from the SDK, and then how can we extend that from, I suppose, the standard output that comes from the Helm CLI when you go Helm LS. So you interested in this?
Absolutely. And I'm going to say this, and because we're recording this and this is for a presentation, I have not seen any of this before. So I'm actually going to be that audience member being like, Hickey, what are you doing? What are you doing? So we're gonna have some fun doing this.
And I'm going to be going to as well. Maybe I haven't seen this before. So when this doesn't work, we're kind of going to go, well, if it worked, this is how they would do. Like so. Will I start sharing?
Please, let's go.
Okay, let's go with this. Right, let's see if I can do the right desktop now. Okay, let's share here.
Wonderful.
How is that, sir? Can you see VS Code?
I see a main.go on a VS Code.
Ah, yes. Here we go. Okay. This is kind of what I want to see. So what I want to do here is, I suppose, I'll just come over for a minute into the terminal. Okay, so normally when we run, I forgot my H. Here's typing gone crazy. So normally when we go,
I'm watching you. You're making mistakes.
So now, obviously, I've increased the font size here, so it doesn't look as tidy as it normally is. But normally when we go Helm list, what you're doing here is you're returning all the releases that you've deployed, or the current version of the releases. And you can see here, there's a series. I'm starting with foobar-v2 down to PR88532. So this is pretty much a live cluster that I use from time to time for testing and trying stuff out in the community and so forth. So what we want to do is we want to see, right, how can we call that in code? Okay, so as simple as, well, maybe it mightn't be as simple, but let's see how that goes. Okay, so first things first, do you know what actually I'm going to do? I'm going to jump in here a minute, and I'm going to pull this over here. Okay, so this is the Helm GitHub repo. Okay, I've opened the project here in VS Code. Can you see it?
It's perfectly fine, yes.
Yeah, perfect. So just a few things I want to show here is, first of all, there is two main areas I want to show you, and that's command/helm and package directories, okay? So like a lot of Go projects, the command Helm is where the CLI is, okay? And package is where the SDK part is. So where you're extricating your, I suppose, your user interface away from the actual library itself, okay?
Okay.
Now, so what we're interested in today is we're going to be writing our own CLI, our own command Helm, so to speak, and we'll be using the package in here. So a few things to look at. Our main one is around action, is where we're going to be looking at today. And if you look inside an action, you see there is a series of files for the different operations that can occur, like list, poll, etc. And what we're going to do is we're interested in list, okay? So when we look at list, we'll want to include the action package, all right? And we'll want to look at all these operations. One thing they have in common is they usually have an exported function called new the particular operation, okay? So in our situation here is we're going to call new list, and then once we get a handle to the list client, we will then call run on the client, and that's going to run our particular operation, okay? So let's jump back in. I'm going to put this again to the side, out of the way. Let's jump back in here. So first things first, I'm going to be doing I suppose, how would we call this? Cookie code to the side?
Pre-baked code. Pre-baked code.
Oh, I knew you just have all the terminology. It's the voice for radio, JJ. That's what I can say.
There you go.
So what I'm going to do here is, first things first, I don't want to be typing here and you looking at me and saying, he types really, really slow, which I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some imports to start with. First one here is going to be.
And just to make sure that maybe someone doesn't know, an import is it's telling your main.go here to take something from some other file to use it inside your application, correct?
Exactly. And if we look at, so I've pre-baked my Go module, okay? So I'm using Go modules here. So Go modules is a way of including particular libraries that you have interest of. Now, there's few ones that have come in. I'm not going to discuss them at the moment, but here is the one we want to look at. And what I'm saying here is, so Helm has two versions of its library. It has Helm v2 and Helm v3, but we're interested in Helm v3 because it's the latest. And what we're saying here is we're saying to import that module for us so that we can use the different APIs.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that explains it. Yeah. If there's anything I don't explain, you just jump in there, JJ, and just say, no, you explained that really badly. Please do better. Okay. So I'll try and do better. Okay. So I've imported it here now, and I'm going to use some nice code completion with VS Code. So what we're going to do is, so I showed you earlier the new list command. If it shows up, here we go. Okay. And we can see here, it's looking for a parameter called action.configuration, okay? So this action.configuration, I'm not going to, will I pull it across for a second? I'll pull it across for a second, or will I? Trying to see. Okay, let's just pull it across for a situation. Actually, we look at it directly from in here. We will go in here, go to its definition, and we'll see here, you have this configuration. Go to definition for that. And you can see here, this is defined in action, and it's got, so this object has a series of properties and operations around it, but the main part of this is it provides all the dependencies that the Helm operation needs when it's performing its operation. So for want of better word is, it has things like, it gives you the kube config, which is here. It tells you the storage that Helm is using. So Helm can have 3 different types of backend storage. It can use secrets, which are the default, config maps, or there's also an experimental SQL using PostgreSQL, Postgres, yeah. And then also some log capabilities and etc. So normally when you run Helm ls from the command line, what you're doing there is it's finding your particular configuration, your kube config you have for your cluster. It also finds what is your default namespace, and it then picks up from the environment what is the particular storage that's been used by Helm, and that then decides on where the operation is going to be run against, which cluster, etc. Okay, so the same thing has to happen for in the SDK. So in that situation, then we're going to have to provide that configuration. So how do we do that? So I'm going to go back again to my my pre-baked code. Is that what you called it?
Yep. Well, it's just like a cooking show. You put the cake in the oven and you pull it out immediately and it's already done.
Okay.
So you don't have to see the actual work.
Yeah, I like that actually. Okay, let me get to this on this pre-baked code. Okay, I'm going to do a copy here. All right, so I'm going to pop in a function here, local function. All right, 2 local functions. Okay, and I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm going to just pop this up on the top as well because I need a variable that I'm going to use between those 2 functions. And all right, so I'm just going to stick this variable up here. All right, so probably when you're writing this, it depends how you normally do it. Oh, I'm in the wrong place in the wrong time. Oh no, I'm in the right place. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I'm defining a variable here, and I'm going to use. I need to get this. So I'm going to have to go into one of the other packages, and I want to use going into CLI package because I want to basically go CLI new here. So what that does is when you go new on this, it creates a new object, and that object loads in a series of the configuration I talked about. So the kube config, current context, and all right. So that all happens in the Helm package. It pulls that information in and makes it available here to this variable called settings. And when we come down here,
so you don't have to recreate it. It's already there. You're taking it from, in essence, taking it from upstream, right?
Yeah, you're using the library code to get that information for you.
Awesome. Yeah.
So what we want to do now is we're going to use that information and we're going to create our action configuration object. Okay. So to do that, we create an instance of it. So we knew it. And then we come along, and this is the important part. We init it. Okay. All right. Great. So what happens is when you init this, it takes all that information that's been loaded up, adds it to the config object, and then when you pass that config object, which we're going to pass in up here into new list, then when the list operation runs, it has all that information to perform the operation it needs to do. So this takes away you having to manually go in and tell it every piece of information about what is the kube config, what's your current namespace, etc. Okay. Now I can see here that I'm missing 1 or 2. So Go libraries, OS is one of the first one I'm going to need, and I also need FMT. So these are standard packages that we need. So, okay. So we're looking good here. Okay. And I need log as well, of course. Maybe I should have pre-baked these.
That's all good.
All right.
Just, even professionals forget things every once in a while, right?
Professionals, yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to pop down a bit of code here as well, because I don't want to be typing everything because I'm going to bore people. Okay. So what have I done here? I have now called the function down here. Okay. We know it's going to get us the information we need for the environment, and it's going to pop it out into this file, or sorry, into this variable action config. And I'll just do a check to see if there's any errors, and we'll bomb out if there is. And now we can pass this in here.
Perfect.
Okay. This is looking a lot better. And let's see what it returns. It just returns the list object we're looking for. So let's call this list client. How does that sound?
That seems reasonable.
Okay, did I spell that right? I did. All right. So now that we have the list client function, or the handle to the list client, we now want to call the run, as we talked about earlier, because run does the operation. We're going to do 2 things here, and I'm going to copy here as well because, you know, avoid me having to write this because I'm late. Actually, do you know what I'll do? First of all, I'm going to, because once you get a handle to, all right, I should do that. Once you get a handle to your client, there's a series of things you can do, but you can also you can set different variables. So sometimes when we do a list, we might say, you know, you might filter it and say, I only want the deployed releases, I want the failed ones, etc. So in this situation, normally the client by default uses deployed, but because we're now using the SDK, you need to set these filters. So we're going to set that to true.
Got it.
Okay. And then we're going to call the run. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's see how that goes. All right. That looks good. And that's going to return. You can see here, it returns a list of release objects and also the error. Okay. So what we're going to do is we call that releases because it's more than one. And error because I'm not that original. Okay. And we'll just do an if on that and we'll pop it out. So I'll just copy that down because, yeah, I don't think anyone wants to me typing that, to be honest. Okay.
Perfect.
Right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a simple printout, okay? All right. So let's do a range on this, okay?
Okay.
So we'll need to get... Release is a word I find very hard to spell for some odd reason.
It is. It's a really weird word.
And what's strange about it is all my life I've been working on code that seems to have the word releases in it. So obviously one of these days I'm going to...
One of these days. It's fine.
I'm going to get it right. So all we're just going to do a simple printout, okay?
Okay.
Nothing fancy here. All right. And let's go, please. Okay. How does that look? All right, let's see if we can get this to run. If we get this to run on the first go, I'll be pretty impressed, even though it's very basic, but let's go with it. All right, we'll run without debugging. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't think there's any advantage to debugging this for us. So. Okay, fingers crossed there, JJ. Yep. Yay, we got something spit out. All right, so I'm not going to look at, so what we've got here is so when we return releases, it's returning the whole release data for each deployed release in the system, okay? Or the latest.
So the full deployment manifest.
The whole thing. What's stored in the storage, the manifest data, everything. So like if we come out here and we look at Helm LS, you're not getting it. You're getting, what would I say, a customized view of that, which you want. Now, if you want more information, you use the Helm get command and you get manifest or whatever you want to get. So if we run this, we'll see here,
we see a lot of YAML.
We should see the same thing what we saw inside. Yes, we do. So, okay. So all right. Now that we're here, we say this is great, okay? But let's say we want to, for want of an argument word, let's repeat or mirror what the Helm LS command does, okay? Or in the Helm CLI. So what you're really doing there is if you ever want to see that, just go into the command Helm package or the command Helm folder inside the repo, and you'll find the patterns that you use to call all the different SDKs and how it maps the data afterwards, okay? So that's a good place if you're ever trying to figure out what is the pattern for that particular API you want to use, okay?
Nice.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a copy paste here because this code is pretty, there's a pretty lot in it, all right? So literally
by the way.
Sorry?
18 minutes, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go with this. I'm going to copy this in here. All right. Thanks for the time check, sir.
Okay. That's what your wingman's for, buddy. That's what your wingman's for.
That's what we need in this world. We need wing people. All right. I'm going to just update all the imports nice and quickly because you'll be able to find this anyway. Most of it's slightly modified to what's inside in the command Helm list, but not that different, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a different print, okay?
Okay.
And the print we're going to go for is this. All right. Bit kind of fancy code, but we'll have a look at it in a second. All right, and we'll see. First of all, let's see if it runs. Okay. All right. So this is where your baked code isn't the same as when you decide to write it on the day. So yeah. I love that. Save that, and let's do a run here. Where's my run go? So what we hope to get here is pretty much, that looks better. And let's run from, because trying to see the bottom there is quite difficult. So let's see it this time and see what happens. All right.
Nice.
All right. Okay. So we're going to get a bit fancy here in a minute, but let's have a quick look at what we've put in. So what we've done is we have defined this new writer, okay? And in this writer, and I'm not going to go through too much of this because this code is inside in the code base, but what you're doing here is, instead of a while ago when we just spit everything out as is, what we're doing now is we're coming in, we're taking a release object, and what we're doing is we're making an element out of the release object, okay? So when we take the release object here, what we're doing is we're just looking at the name, the namespace, we're looking at the version, the status, etc. So we're going into the different objects that are contained within the release object, and we're getting what information we want out of that. And that's how it works, basically. It's quite easy. And then all we're doing is writing a table out afterwards, which is using UI table from that package, okay, that we include. And we just add the rows, etc. into it. And this is just a bit of helper code inside in the SDK, which helps you to just basically write it out in one format or send an error out if there's an error. It's just a standard way of doing it. So really, it's just customizing the data we're taking out as opposed to just dumping it all out as is. So I'm not going to go into that too much, but what I want to do is say, right, what happens if we want to change this up a bit, okay? So where we say, right, and this is where I'm looking at where you might want to customize afterwards on it, okay? So for example, you go, do you know what? I'd like a column description, because I know the description, is provided. So what we'll do in this situation is we'll go to where description is, okay? And off the top of my head, I know it's inside an info, okay? But if you're doing this, you're going to have a look inside the different objects that are there and stuff like that.
You'll need to do some spelunking to find the actual information, right?
I think that's a good way of saying it, okay? Yeah. And because we're using this structure up here to store it, I need to drop it in here. We call that a string. It is, because it is a string, okay? And you know what we'll do also? We'll change chart as well, okay? Because let's say so the way chart is done, if you can see down here, it basically is taking the name and it's dividing it with a dash and version, okay? So for example, you might go, do you know what? I'd like a chart name and I'd like a chart version, so, please. So you can come in here and let's give this chart name. Excuse my formatting, but we're on a bit of time here. So we're going to call this. So let's do a copy of this. All right. And we'll make the bottom one version. We'll make the top one name. And let's see how that goes. Fingers crossed we don't end up with something that we're about 10 minutes trying to find out what the bug is. But we'll see how that goes as well. So let's call that name, and let's call this version.
Perfect.
All right, so you can see we've done a customization here. We brought in description, chart name, chart version, and I know I can just jump down here. I'm going to call this chart name. I'm going to call this, no, is it R? Yeah, it's R. Okay.
You have to add the top row too, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do the top one as well. We'll knock this down here, and we'll call this, we'll put description here.
Yep.
All right.
24 minutes.
Oh, 24 minutes. That's okay. We're good with that. Okay, so, yeah, let's put in, see how good my typing is here. Description, chart name, I suppose, and chart version. Okay. All right. So it's a bit of a, we're doing a bit of a naughty type type extension here, but you're getting the ID, which I think is the most important thing. What did I call this version? Wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay, I think
what you're highlighting here is the ability to pull the information out and give you the information you need. Granted, it's an arbitrary example, but all this information is available, and you can get what you're looking for.
Yeah, obviously, when you're writing your app or your tool that's going to leverage Helm, you're going to be far more sophisticated than this. So again, it's not easy to see there. So let's go out onto the terminal altogether and let's see how that works. Fingers crossed, JJ.
I'm thinking, hey.
Yay.
Oh, yay. Good job.
So we can see, if we look at some of the data here, we can see the description, which is upgrade complete. The chart name now is whatever the name of the chart is, my chart here, and the chart version is here. So you can see here that we were able to splice it up and pull it out. And so what we got out of this is, you can see now, you can write your own apps, your own code. You can use the SDK the same way as the Helm CLI uses its SDK. You'll find your patrons in there in the CLI if you want to use it. And you can see here then that you can, basically, you can take operations and extend them, or you can do whatever you want to do on it. So I think that's all for me, JJ. So do you want to summarize or?
Yeah, no, this is great. And thank you, Martin. This is phenomenal. Yeah. And again, you want to say goodbye? This is your talk. I'm just here to help you out.
Oh yeah. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you've got something out of it. And really big thank you to JJ for jumping in here with me today, because I think during these times we need an audience. We need some interaction, and no better person. So thank you, JJ. Thank you folks for watching.